And welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Welcome into Ultimate Soccer one more time. Remember, like, subscribe, and like. Hit the notification button and tell your mates about this because it's all about predictions week to week. Last week, we'll tell you how good we've done pretty soon. And we'll tell you who we're going to predict in this weekend. And there's also two big surprises that may come off. But if they do come off and you do use that, then it will add some spice to your ticket and it'll make you a big fat pocket of money if you're lucky. So we've got the predictions coming through, but what are we talking about on the show? We're talking predictions, we're talking the league, we're talking Ten Hag, we're talking Jesse Lingard, we're talking European football, we're talking David De Gea, we're talking Mohammed bin Salman. Yeah, there's a name, and we're going to keep that one towards the end. We're also going to talk about Julian Nagelsmann, Deutschland chef, team chef. We'll talk about all that coming up right now and so much more. So, before we go anywhere, just tell you about this shirt. This is a 2008 England training shirt. Nice England training shirt. Just thought I'd put that on because it's obviously the EPL, the English League. You need an English shirt. So, looking at the league so far, Man City, Tottenham, Liverpool, Arsenal rounding out the top four. Three of them clubs are definitely there for sure. This weekend, big game coming up. Maybe one of them teams is not in the top four. Brighton doing well. I got a few thoughts about Brighton coming up. Stick around. You'll know about that on the European football. West Ham in 6th doing well. David Moyes has got them where they should be. How long will that last? Aston Villa doing well. Midweek was not great in Europe. Big game coming up on the weekend. Nottingham Forest, I like what I see. I like what I see. Keep going, Forest. I'd like to see them guys survive. I really would. I'm definitely I'm an old-time fan of Brian Clough. So that's also big-time Nottingham Forest, Derby County, Hartlepool United, whoever you want. But I'm thinking Nottingham Forest was where I learned the game from the master, Brian Clough. And he was quite outspoken. He was fantastic, you know. And then obviously, they're in 8th. In 9th, Crystal Palace and Fulham in 10th. Fulham are coming back somewhat. They've had a little bit of a rocky start to the season, but they're doing okay. Now, looking at the bottom half of the table, Brentford doing what I think they should be. I don't think Brentford is a top half of the table team. They draw too many games. But when you've got nothing but negativity below you, it makes it easier for you to stay up high. Now, Newcastle in 12, Man United in 13, Chelsea in 14. You could say that 3 of those clubs are possibly, top 4, top 5 sort of capability. They are not right now. And I tell you what, it's a reality. Look at Man United. It's a shambles. It really is a shambles. Chelsea, for all the money spent, absolutely, it's a joke. And I know, because I know a lot about Chelsea and Man United, just like you. And looking at Newcastle United, they'll get some form going. But the one thing they don't have is a real playmaker and a little bit more power up front. That's what they need. And I'd say that they need a world-class goalkeeper before they ever think about winning this league. So Newcastle in the lower half of the table right now, I think, to be quite honest, you'll see them push back up. But I don't think this is going to be a top 4 finish this year. And Champions League football will really take it out of them. Talking about Chelsea there in 14th, that's not a great season. And then below, Bournemouth, Wolverhampton, Sheffield United, clinging on to survival, but in the bottom 3, Everton, Burnley and Luton Town. Everton, I don't think it matters how much money you spend on your squad this year. I don't know that it's going to be an easy season. You can survive. But right now, if you look at the last sort of 30 games for Everton and you add it all up together and the coaching changes and the goals they haven't scored and the results they haven't gained and the home form not being very good, but it's only pointing to one direction, and that's straight down. So let's hope they survive. Let's hope the money goes in well, but I don't know about that. Now, moving on, let's take a look at this weekend's predictions. But first of all, we'll take at last week's predictions and how badly or how well we did. Let's take a look. Okay, taking a look at last week's predictions. You can go back and check the video because everything up behind me is on that video. We got 90%. We got 8 scores correct. One of the scores, we actually got the score correct, and that was the 1-0 over Brentford via a penalty kick. So luckily, we got the penalty kick to get a correct score, but we got 8 right scores as of results, who wins, who draws, who loses. And on the weekend, it was a 90%. So coming up for this weekend, I've got to tell you, interesting. Saturday, Man City 5 over Forest. I really think that's going to happen. Palace should be able to scrape the 1-0 over Fulham. Luton and Wolves. This is one for Wolves to get 3 points. This is one of the games where Wolves can. But at the same time, Luton are eventually going to get close to winning a game. They can't lose all their games, can they? Can they? Is this the weekend that they get a win? I'm saying Wolves wins 1-0. What are you saying? Down below, guys. Bring your comments down below. Remember, like, subscribe, like, hit the button, and get all the news when you can. And live shows are coming very soon. Brentford 2-1 over Everton. Everton just haven't got firepower. They haven't got any steel. They've got great, brave performances in the defensive end of the zone, but that's not going to keep you in the division. So, looking for another loss for Everton. Brentford, not a draw this weekend, although this does have draw written all over it. Come on, Brentford. Let's see what you're made of. Everton, likewise. Burnley 0, Man United 1. I'm looking for that to be Man United, but we'll talk about that more in detail. Now, Sunday, Arsenal taking on Tottenham in the North London derby. I'm going for Arsenal on this one. Odegaard just signed a 5-year deal. It's looking good. And Ramsdale, not too happy as David Raya is taking his spot. Raya's the better keeper, I say. What do you say? An Odegaard 5-year deal, it's a 4-year straight deal with a 1-year add-on if they need it. Brighton 3-1 over Bournemouth is what I'm saying, although midweek for Brighton wasn't great in Europe. And does that European football sort of bother them for the season? I'll tell you more in a minute. Chelsea 2-1 Aston Villa. You know, Aston Villa's got a chance to get a result here. They really have. They're on form in league. Okay, midweek, wasn't great in Europe, but they've got some form going. And normally when Villa drop a game, they come back with a game. Chelsea haven't brought a game. I'm still waiting for a game at Stamford Bridge for Chelsea this season. Both teams have to bring a game. It should be Chelsea's game on the day, but you can't help thinking Aston Villa might snatch this 2-1. Liverpool over West Ham. Likewise, West Ham, European travel and the rest of it, being on the road again, travelling away from home. Liverpool should have enough in the tank and guile to take this one 3-1. And finally, Sheffield United. I'm going for Newcastle in this one, 2-1 on the road. They should be good enough to get this one. Sheffield United give you a lot of effort, great defensive performances, and they do have moments in offense. But it's that quality, that Premier League quality that they just don't have. So let's move along now. Let's take a look at some of the news, the hot news right in the news right now. So talking Burnley and Man United on Saturday. Burnley still looking for the first win of the season. I tell you what, this is one of the games that they could. They're going up against a Manchester United team full of ego, full of talent, full of no performances. They're not a team. I've watched United now for quite some considerable time. This is the most untogether bunch of guys I've ever seen. And when you look at the amount of money they make and how long they've been together and where they've come from, and some guys are on their end of their career and some guys are really having no career, and they're all in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's an absolute train crash. Absolute train crash. And this game coming up, you got to say, are you excited to watch this as a Man United fan, or are you dreading another game where the life is sucked right out of it? I tell you what, this could be such a colourful game, but right now it's a grey day for Man United. Although you could think that maybe Burnley and Vincent Kompany are going to make a 1-0 win out of this and maybe turn United upside down. 4 losses on the trot. Is that going to be a reality? But on the day, Man United have got too many in their squad that can't match these guys for work rate, because this guy screams, whines and cries too much all game long and doesn't do enough on the park. If you want to be a whiner, you want to scream and you want to moan and you want to complain about everything about everybody else on the field, put the ball in the back of the net. Bruno, you do that, you can cry all day long. But if you keep crying like a little boy because your team's not getting it done and you're not putting the effort in and you're supposed to be the leader, well, hey, it doesn't take much to think about. Another guy that's really, he's really in bad waters right now, Jesse Lingard. Let's take a look. So Jesse Lingard with West Ham United right now, trying to get the career back into gear, as you would say. Looking at that picture, we'll tell you about that in a minute. David Moyes has obviously given him a bit of a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth chance to get it back on track and get the career going again. The only reason why is that he had such a great stint with West Ham where he couldn't stop scoring goals in such a short time. Something that he's never done like that ever in his career. It was a flash-in-the-pan moment, but it also endeared Moisey to Lingard, no doubt about it. But taking a look at what this is all about, see that beautiful car? Well, that's a car, and that's a picture that the police have and had, and that's why Jesse had to go to court. And he went to court for a drinking and driving charge. Now, hang on, there's more coming, because this isn't just your average drinking and driving charge. They thought at one time he was actually racing another high-performance motor car, just like his, yeah? So, just saying, that's what the police were thinking, but they couldn't prove it, so they didn't push that issue. But what they did do was they stopped him, questioned him, and then took a breathalyzer, etc., etc., etc. At a later date, they also asked him for the information on an earlier, we'll get to that, an earlier event where someone was driving his car at fast speed where he refused to tell the police who was in the seat. You know, the photo radar ticket, where you get the photo radar ticket and you're like, oh shit, it's me. Jeepers creepers. Again? That's not me. That's him. Yeah, again. So he got done way ways back and got a £900 fine for that one. Yeah. And the ticket was previous to this one. It wasn't this one. And he got a 6-month ban. Okay. Now, this one here, he's obviously been caught for being over the limit. Double time over the limit. You can't say it was crazily over the limit. And he was coherent when the police stopped him as well. It was a judgment error. He went to a fellow professional footballer's house for a couple of drinks, and it was a bad decision. He should have waited a bit longer than he did before leaving. And that was the thing. Coming out of the trial, he did wait a little while to get sober, but didn't wait long enough. Went home, yada, yada. And the rest is history. But here's the deal. The judge at court said, you're going to get treated exactly like anybody else in front of me in this courtroom. And that's exactly what happened. If you get done in the UK for drinking and driving, what they normally do is give you a fine, which is normally a week's wages, and then points on your license. And then you also have to pay a victim's fee. Now, on this one, Jesse paid £57,000 on the ticket. £57,000. Quickly, that's probably like about $170,000. But £57,000 plus a £2,000 victim. That's a victim fee. £2,000 victim fee. So it's £59,000. He earns £249,000 per week. Over $500,000 per week. Way over $2 million per week. He's a millionaire sterling every month. What the hell are you doing driving drunk when you're earning that kind of money? Get a damn taxi. Get a frickin' chauffeur. You've got enough money. And he had the gall to complain about, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna support my family, like being in trouble like this if I get, some serious sentence. How are you going to support your family on £249,000 a week? People, can you answer me that? I'd like to know how that's possible. Can you support a family on £249,000 a week? Of course you bloody can. Sometimes these guys come up with absolute crap in court, and sometimes they get away with it. But he gets an 18-month sentence, suspended, but it's an 18 months driving ban on top of the 6-month driving ban he's already got. Why is he even allowed to drive again? That's my question. And that car costs £200,000 behind you. Beautiful piece of machinery, yeah. Anyway, moving along, let's take a look at Brighton midweek. Oh my life. I had to laugh when I saw him getting coached, but I'm telling you, Robert De Zerbi, Brighton coach, if you don't know by now that you can't mouth off to these European coaches, because I'll tell you what, they won't take it. They won't. If you keep mouthing off, they're going to bang you with this, and then they're going to bang you with that, and it'll be a bang, 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 get out of here. You're done. So that's one thing he's learned. The second thing he may well learn is the further that Brighton go into Europe, the harder it's going to be to keep that level of performance. You see, they don't have a massive squad. And when you're talking about quality throughout the squad, Brighton does have a great team ethic and an absolutely wonderful tactics. You got to say, hand it to De Zerbi. He's really got that team operating in the right direction in such a short time. Remember, he hasn't been there that long, but he's doing a fantastic job. The other thing he's got to learn, though, is you can't take the Reds, that's the thing, but you've got to pace yourself through this. So these European games are really, really going to factor in maybe midway through the season, but maybe Brighton are not as high as they were last year at this time of the year at Christmas. Let's look at Christmas. Let's see where they are, but maybe they're a little bit lower than they were the previous season. And come the end of the season, I don't know that they're going to be in the same position that they were last year. If they do, they've got to add players to the squad, and it will be an absolute achievement if they can stay or maintain that level that they did last season. Quickly, let's talk about David De Gea. So quickly talking about David De Gea, you know what? Great career with Manchester United, but you could see it coming to an end. I mean, could you not see it coming to an end? So many performances that really went flatline. The amount of embarrassing blunders he had in goal, right on the goal line, etc., etc. He didn't play for Spain for the last 2 years plus. That must resonate with people. I mean, if you're an international goalkeeper for Spain and suddenly you're not getting picked, well, that's the case of you don't have the form. You're not young enough anymore. Your time has come and your time has firmly gone. There's a lot of bickering in the news right now of how badly Man United have treated David De Gea by just offloading him at the end of his career. Well, factor in how much money he's made, factor in how many motor cars he's got, just like Jesse Lingard. But well done, David. No drinking and driving. But factor in the amount of money that they've made. They just get dead from the neck up. They don't have that fire. There's no fight. There's no desire. What they had when they began as youngsters is what made them what they were. And sadly, over time, David De Gea went flat like a great bottle of wine. And it's just the fact. Now he's looking to get a deal and nobody's coming in. Nobody's coming in. Not at all. Not even a Saudi deal. I mean, the Saudis are not even interested in taking. So, David De Gea, it's good to know you, but I tell you what, your time has come. Your time is gone. It is well and truly done. One guy I want to talk about quickly is... Okay, got to talk about this guy before we get on to Mohammed bin Salman, but Neil Warnock, an absolute icon, 42 years in management, many, many clubs. I tell you what, go online and just put in Neil Warnock. There's some funny stuff about Neil. He's been a fantastic manager, very outspoken, tells you how he feels and tells you what he's thinking, and puts all the words in there, a few F-bombs too. Down below, there's a link to one of Neil's rants. And it's an absolute great look. I can't really say that I'm going to put that kind of language in this show, but I can understand why a coach gets like that and how he gets fired up. I'm going to put a link to that, like I say, down below. But Neil Warnock, 42 years in, like I say, great coach, saved a few teams, made a few teams better than they were, and really a credit to the coaching trade. And obviously, the League Managers Association are going to host a massive, massive say goodnight dinner, meal, talk about it what you will. And I know this much. There'll be plenty of guys going up to roast Neil on the nights. And it probably will be one of the hottest tickets in football if you can get a hold of it. But Neil Warnock, 42 years as a coach. As a player, he was there too. But I got to say, fantastic to see Neil get to the end of it and retire with his marbles and still become a winner because he saved Huddersfield last year. So, Neil, enjoy your retirement. I know you'll hate every second of it, but become a pundit because I think you'll be absolutely brilliant, especially if you ever sit with Roy Keane. Boy, those two together, can you imagine? Yeah, I bet you can. Down below, tell me what you think. Should Roy and Neil become pundit buddies? Or should Neil Warnock become a pundit, period? Down below, guys, tell me what you think. Now, let's talk about a very interesting, spicy, you know I don't do politics, but we're going to touch it right now, but we're talking Mohammed bin Salman. Mohammed bin Salman, the big man in Saudi League professional football, yeah? Man who's getting everything done. The man who's in charge of getting lots of sports going through the Saudi money because they've got plenty of money to push sports worldwide. Remember, they got 1% of global sports already, and golf is theirs easily taken over. I imagine they're looking to take over other sports too. And when people say that a lot of European footballers or world footballers leaving their leagues to go to the Saudi League, you have to look at how many players have gone there and how much money has been spent. And this is really just the kicking off phase. But anyway, we're talking about sports washing. Sports washing. And the Saudis are being accused all over the place of sports washing and crimes against humanity, crimes against women, crimes against everything you can possibly imagine that's been thrown, and they are being heckled at. And Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi Crown Prince, basically says, I don't care. I don't care what you want to call it. I don't care about your sports washing accusations. I don't care. And you got to say, why should he? Why should he? Why should they? That might shock you. I know you're going to say politically, look at the humanitarian rights and the women's rights and the little bit of a war going on there and all sorts of things. I say this, he's into sports. You might think of the politics, what has gone on in the past, and you may well look at that. But I'm looking at the sports angle, just the sports angle. I don't care about the politics. It's the sports. The point of the matter is, countries all over the world are doing good and bad things right now. Just take a look on your TV screens or listen to your radio or go online. You'll see what I'm saying. Not getting into that. We're staying with football. For the sake of football, there's a lot of countries do good and bad things all over the world. Yet they're allowed to still participate and carry on business as usual and not get heckled at by the Western press. Well, the Western press want to heckle at the Eastern side of the world. You can do that. That's fine. Freedom of the press. No problem. But start heckling others too, yeah? Give them the same treatment that you give the Saudis. And I don't think the Saudis wouldn't have an issue with it. But as for Mohammed bin Salman, he doesn't care about sports washing accusations. Now, what do you think? Do you think he's right? Do you think he's wrong? Do you think they shouldn't be allowed to host a World Cup in the future? What are your thoughts? But remember, when you make a statement, think about the other countries around the world. That makes for a great conversation. Down below, guys, tell me what you're thinking. Keep it clever. But that's what I'm going to finish with this weekend. Sports washing, Saudi Arabia. Are they the only ones that commit that crime? I don't think they are. I think there's many ways you can look at this. At the end of the day, we're going to have another Big Ten games. The predictions are in, like I told you. And you got to say, is it going to be a big bad loss for Man United? Jesse Lingard banned. Get back to training. Get into West Ham squad. Get into the team. To ZERBI at Brighton. You know what? Calm it down in Europe and keep it going in the league. David De Gea looks like he's finished. Julian Nagelsmann, the new Neu Deutschland team chef, new German team trainer. Neil Warnock is gone for another day, and Mohammed bin Salman, sports washing. Guys, that's all we've got time for this week. Check out the 90% that we got last week. Let's see what we get this week. It's going to be another big game in the EPL. Enjoy your weekend. See you next Friday. Cheers. Boom. Shaka laka laka laka.